Welcome back to the Crossroad Pod with me, Rachel Aitken. This week we are with the one and only, have to say it, Chesney Hawkes. Chesney Hawkes, the icon, is here in the Crossroad building. We are so excited. We can't wait to hear what life was like growing up in a really pop-centric household with his dad, the famous Chip Hawkes, part of the Tremolos, to now. Who is Chesney Hawkes now? How has family life shaped this rock star? And where is he at his own crossroads? We're seeing him everywhere. He's touring. So I can't wait to get into it and see what he has to say about being on the crossroad of life. I feel like I don't need to do an introduction to you because today on the Crossroad Pod we are so humbled to have Chesney Hawkes here, virtually on a cruise ship. Chesney, welcome to the Crossroad.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed. It's lovely to be here.
I mean, you're sailing along there. Tell us what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm on a cruise ship at the moment, performing on a cruise ship. So we are somewhere off the north coast of Portugal at the moment. We were in Lisbon yesterday, and we're in Vigo tomorrow. So yeah, that's my life right now.
Life is on the ocean waves for you right now, but I'm interested in the crossroads that have taken you to this very point today where you are on the ocean waves. And I want to get straight into it, Chesney, because you're from a massive musical family. Your dad, Chip Hawkes, what was it like growing up in a musical household?
Yeah, it was a wild household, to be honest, quite rock and roll. My brother and sister and I witnessed all sorts of things that will make your hair curl as kids, because some things that kids probably shouldn't see, but you know, it definitely broadened our horizons at a very early age. There were guitars propped up in every corner. And my dad's friends were all, musicians, and some of them like 60s superstars. So there were parties, jam sessions. My dad owned John Lennon's piano, so I learned literally to play on John Lennon's piano. It was it was a very liberal, fun rock and roll upbringing. Put it that way.
Wow, I mean, it sounds very different. It sounds like already so many different crossroads at such a young age. Tell me when there was a moment, or if there was a moment for you where you thought, actually, this is not just part of the family every day learning to play on John Lennon's piano. This is actually what I want to do for a living.
Oh, I never wanted to do anything else, Rachel. I never had a backup plan, you know. My dad always says I came out singing.
Oh.
And it's funny, over the years, since those days, I've mentored young artists, and you can always tell the ones that have a chance of making it in this business. And it's not necessarily the talented ones. It's the ones that have that tenacious eye of the tiger, passion, bit between the teeth, kind of thick skin. If you get knocked down, you get up, and that kind of attitude. Um, those are the ones that are going to make something of themselves in this business, and because I know that because that's what I was like.
Mm. Well, I mean, you have an enormous talent that goes with it too, Chesney. Of course you do.
Well, I think you have to have the talent too. But if you have those two things, together, that is the kind of recipe for success. I think obviously you have to have a little bit of luck, a little bit of fairy dust sprinkled over you, but if you have that drive and passion, you're going to kind of come across the right timings in life, and things are going to happen for you. You know.
Oh, I really love that actually. A little bit of magic sprinkled between everything else that goes with it. Tell me about the crossroad that led to you becoming incredibly successful, basically overnight.
Well, I mean, I think the main kind of big break, if that's what you mean by crossroads, was I auditioned for a film, and it was about a young singer-songwriter, and the film was called Buddy's Song, starring Roger Daltrey from The Who. And I'd never acted before in my life, and I just thought maybe there's a record deal at the end of this, if I go for it. So I went for it really without really thinking that I would get it or anything like that. But literally, I was, well, it was stars aligned for me at that moment. I was only 17, and I went up for that part, and I was right for it. I guess I was a singer. I could play guitar. I could play piano. All these things that I could possibly be. Roger Daltrey's son, right age, and all that kind of stuff. Um, and I ended up just getting the role. I just went for it. Never acted before in my life, and threw myself in the deep end. Really.
That's so funny to say that as on a cruise ship. I absolutely love that. How did you feel? What was that moment like?
It was weird. It was my first kind of, I think, moment where I've kind of like jumped off the cliff, if you know what I mean, in life. And I knew intrinsically that that was the right thing to do. You know, it's kind of like that fake it till you make it type of thing. I'd never acted, so that was kind of a nerve-wracking thing. But I just thought, you know what? How hard can it be? I'm playing a young singer-songwriter, musician. That's me. I'm just going to be me, and so that's why I did it really. For the first time ever, that was kind of the moment where you just kind of like push yourself to do something that's out of your comfort zone. And I really haven't stopped doing that my whole career.
Did you do this alone, Chesney, or did you have a team of people around you? Because I quite often hear that a lot of people, they have this like tenacity and this hunger, but there comes a point when you do need a team. Were you alone at this point, or did you have good people around you?
Well, I mean, I had my family, which I guess you can call your team.
100%.
My dad he was very supportive. I think he would have been supportive in anything that I showed passion for. He even said that, uh, and it just so happened to be music, which is what his thing was. So I had his support for sure. Um, and he actually kind of like co-managed me in those days, those early days, and kind of helped with advice and things like that. He gave me some good advice. He really did. But then I had my brother and sister. They were younger than me, but my brother was a drummer. We'd been in bands together since we were kids. Um, and he was supportive. He's like, you should go for it. And so, yeah, I had a good kind of family upbringing in that way. I mean, a crazy upbringing, ridiculous, really. And maybe that's what gave me the kind of belief in myself in a way, I guess. I saw people around me, people around my family were successful. So I just, had that kind of precociousness as a kid where I thought, of course I'm going to make it. It's like, it's my time. uh, that kind of belief, I guess, it is very much a youthful thing. And over the years, those things sometimes get kind of, chipped away at. But it was mainly my own kind of self belief that kind of pushed me into that. But of course, I had a team.
You need your cheerleaders. It's really, really important. But I actually started this podcast, Chesney, because I realized I'm from a very similar, not similar in the sense of rock and roll, but similar in the sense of my family. Anything you want to do, just go for it. And it was when I had my daughter, I set this podcast up because I was actually meeting a lot of people who don't have those cheerleaders. And that's why talking to someone like you is so important, because
Yeah.
whatever it is, whatever you're passionate about, having that self belief, or having just people like chatting to you, chatting to me, to say you can go for it is really, really important.
Oh, it means everything. It really does. And I say that to my kids now. It's like you have to follow what you are passionate about. And I can see that in my kids now. My youngest is my lead guitar player, and he's got his own musical journey. He's already done 2 runs in the West End, and he has exactly what I had, that kind of tenacity and self-belief. But he also has that love for what he does that is just it's so palpable. You can see it in his skin. And so And so I, and it's that old adage, isn't it? Like, if you do follow what you love, and something that makes you happy, and kind of floats your boat, and just gives you that kind of creative juices or whatever, then you'll never work a day in your life. I mean, I know that's an old cliche, but it's a very, very true cliche.
No, it's absolutely, it is, it's really, really important actually. Going back to being in Buddy, tell me what happened next. What was your crossroad after that?
Made the film, and the record deal, all plans working. And so the soundtrack to that film, Roads, was, the record company were like, I think we need another couple of songs, maybe some outside songs, because the film was quite insular. All of the songs from the film were written in particular lyrically written for Buddy. So it was Buddy's voice. And the writer of the screenplay and the book, Nigel Hinton, had written all of the lyrics as Buddy. I'd written some of the music, and there were other people and stuff like that. So the album had its own kind of personality, and it was very much Buddy's personality. He was kind of an angst-ridden teenager, where going through, his parents going through divorce, and all that kind of stuff. So when the record label, we'd done the album, it was at Abbey Road and everything else, and we're pretty much done. Then we need like a couple of extras. And my father was friends with Nick Kershaw's. Um, I guess he was a publisher, and he played him a couple of songs, from Nick's demos. And he was like, "Oh my God, that's Nick Kershaw, isn't it? Chesney will be pleased. He's a big Nick Kershaw fan. Is that a new Nick album?" And he said, "Well, it is Nick. Obviously, he's very recognizable, but the songs are, available for artists to record, because Nick's kind of taking a break from being an artist and wants to think about writing and producing for other people." So my dad brought me this cassette, if you remember those. You're probably
Yes.
too young to remember those.
No, no.
Maybe not. And and it had like 15 songs on it, and I still have it somewhere, and it's got an asterisk by the one and only, and another song called Oxygen, and another song called I'm in Love with My TV. So I ended up recording the one and only. Um, Jason Donovan recorded Oxygen, and Cliff Richard recorded I'm in Love with My
Oh
TV.
my
Isn't that crazy?
God.
So yeah, there's a crossroads, and it nearly never happened, because when we brought it to the team, and you can imagine it was a big team, because it was a major motion picture. So we had like the producers of the film, the directors of the film. Then we had like the record label, and the producer of the album, and Roger Daltrey. So there's all sorts of people involved. Nobody wanted to do the one and only. They just thought it was sounded like a Nick Kershaw throwout. So it took some persuasion, which obviously, we won out in the end, and I ended up recording it. And yeah, there's a crossroads for you.
That's a massive crossroad actually, because it's so iconic, Chesney. It's, a phenomenon that you've lived with now for decades. What an incredible journey, even just to get to the song itself. Is there anything from having this song part of you now for so long? Is there anything it's taught you along the way? Is there any crossroads it's brought?
It was such a phenomenal success in those early days, that I, yeah, I kind of got I was very much kind of welded, should we say, with that song. And then obviously, because it wasn't followed up in a way that we would have hoped, uh, the image kind of changed, and it became like, became synonymous with that kind of like one hit wonder thing. And maybe the title of the song didn't help with that. you know
So true.
yeah, so I didn't anticipate that, and didn't expect that. So because I grew up as a musician, I always thought that I would make it in a different way. And the record company kind of, saw me as that pretty boy thing. And so I got promoted in that way, as that kind of like heartthrob kind of pop star thing. And it really kind of didn't suit my personality in a way. Really, it wasn't really what I foresaw, if you see what I mean. So there's a crossroads there of kind of trying to come to terms with the fact that my fame and success was kind of all different to the way I thought it was going to happen. So I had to come to terms with that. And so there's a crossroads.
Honestly, the crossroads are coming thick and fast here.
Yeah, I didn't really, I kind of rebelled against it, to be honest with you, after that period of time. Didn't play that song for years, because I just, I wanted to kind of like be in Radiohead, basically. So I formed bands, guitar bands, and kind of, turned up to 11 and shoegazed. And if anyone asks for the one and only, I'll tell them to bugger off.
How did it make you feel in that moment of time?
Two things. One is I was confused, didn't really know how to kind of pull it around and try and figure out what I meant in that world, if you know what I mean, and what my name meant and what the song and that record meant. And then the other thing was the excitement of creating new music. So I formed bands, as I said, and wrote and was quite prolific in those days. And then eventually those songs started to kind of build something else. And then I started to come out and play live again as myself, because I didn't even sing. I didn't even do gigs as me, for like probably 10 years. So kind of beginning of the 2000s when I started to start playing live as me again. And then I started to embrace that whole period in my life again, because there was more to it. I had, by then I'd met my lovely wife, and and actually at that point was starting to, start a family and stuff like that. So it was like a whole different lease of life for me.
Yeah, it sounds to me like a lot of reinvention time and time again, which takes a lot of resilience, takes a lot of guts. Musician, performer, songwriter. What creative chapter in that time, leading up to obviously meeting your wonderful wife and having your babies, which I can't wait to talk about that crossroad too. What's brought you most creative joy in that kind of reinvention, then coming full circle back?
Well, funny enough, I was really, really very creative and prolific songwriting wise throughout the 90s. I didn't have, any records released in that time. I was just doing my thing, and I was like, I kind of like feel like I paid my dues the other way round, if you know what I mean. I mean, I did do loads of gigs before I made it and everything, playing piano in pubs and stuff like that, and I had gigs throughout my teens for sure. But now I was able to kind of like go out, play like the small little gigs in Camden or whatever, where your amplifier blows up and nobody cares that you're there really, and the kind of character building stuff. And I was writing like crazy through that time, and building like these catalog of songs that some of them went off to other artists. I started writing for other people because I thought my career was over. I thought that was it for me. So I started kind of writing and producing for other people, and I started working with as it got to the late 90s and early 2000s, bands like Hearsay and A1 and all that kind of stuff. So all my creative output was like that kind of stuff. But what happened was I started gathering these songs, and which I used to call it the Chesney pile. I just put those songs on the Chesney pile, and then so by the time it got to kind of into the 2000s, I was like comfortable being me as an artist again, and then I started to record under my name again, which was great. And then I had these massive amount of songs, on that first album, Another Fine Mess, which came out in 2005, which I was very proud of and everything else. So that was kind of like the start of me being me again, really.
And feeling comfortable in your own skin. How do these songs come to you, Chesney? I'm so fascinated. Do they come in the middle of the night? Where do they come from?
Oh, they come from everything. I mean, nowadays it's like, funny enough, recently on this latest album, Living Arrows, it's a lot of looking back. There was a lot of catharsis and therapy to writing these songs. They're songs that kind of just kind of had to come out. You know what I mean? There's kind of um, they're almost like vomiting, you know, songs that when I first wrote them, I was scared to even play to anyone, but they had to be written, and I had to be persuaded to record and put out, because you know they were very very deeply personal and hard to you know emotional, you know, and hard to kind of play to people. So that's where they come from now. They're like those are the ones for me. Those are the ones you write from the heart are the ones that end up with more of emotional connection with people. So you know, through the '90s and the 2000s, I was there was a lot of kind of pop songwriting. I was writing for people like Kylie or writing for, you know, pop bands and trying to kind of emulate what was going on at the time. And then now and again there would be a song that'd be like, oh, that's a lyric that I can't give to anyone else. That's like, oh yeah, that's a personal one. That's going on the Chesney pile, you know. But nowadays I can hardly write songs without it being something like that.
Yeah. Does that come, where does it come from, that emotion? Is it your life experience? Is it your family, your kids?
It's a bit of everything, Rachel, to be honest with you. Life experience, yes. Previous life experiences, like, you know, I mean, I'm talking about this life, but yeah, you know, looking back into my into to what happened to me and what has happened to me over the years, that can be quite an inspiration for songs. My kids, you know, I've written about my kids, my beautiful wife, you know, and our love, and um, just everything really. You know, it's like I've written about John Lennon. You know, so there's a song on my last previous album called "John Lennon Lived Here," and it's about, you know, first time I ever went to New York and how, and then it's like what it was like to be in that town, you know, where John Lennon lived, and just, you know, everything can be inspirational.
What was it like to go somewhere where you've played on his piano? What was it like to kind of walk in his shoes a little?
Well, like, the piano, I actually, you know, learned to play on John Lennon's piano, you know, so I always felt like I had John Lennon under my fingers as a kid, you know, and I was a big fan, even at like 9 years old. He died when I was 9. I remember that really, really well. Like Imagine was the first song I ever learned to play. So I feel like John Lennon's like followed me around. He's like my guardian angel.
Wow, he's maybe the one giving you that fairy dust.
It's possible. There's the magic right there.
There's something about that. I really believe in it. Tell me about becoming a dad, meeting your wife, how that's evolved. Like how does that fit in basically to being this rock star writing for Kylie? Like all these names you're just throwing out. It's absolutely incredible. How did that shape you and kind of fit into this world?
Well, when I met Chris, this was in '95, so I was very much kind of in my rebelling phase, and you know, probably drinking too much, maybe a little bit too much of the extracurricular life, shall we say?
Yeah.
And I was going financially in a hole, and probably going in the completely wrong direction. Well, definitely going in the wrong direction, and well into it as well. So when I met Chris, she she kind of helped pull me out of that. It gave me another focus, if you know what I mean, a focus to like, oh, I wanted to be a better man for her, you know. Um, and so I always say, like, I feel like she saved me in that respect and turned me around, put me back on a completely different path that I didn't see coming. Um, you know, and so thank God for my beautiful wife. And then, you know, years after that, obviously we got married, and I mean, we spent the kind of mid to late '90s together, having a lot of fun and just you know, in love and traveling and stuff like that. And we just and then we had kids, and we had a baby, you know, in 2001, and that really does leapfrog everything, you know, in as far as priorities. When you have, you know, a little human to look after and hopefully be an inspiration to, that really does make you want to be a better person.
I really do, because honestly, I do feel like luck is on my side too, Chesney. So when you said that about the little fairy dust, when I got married to my husband, our best man said, when Rach is crossing the road, the lights go green. And honestly, Chesney, sometimes that happens, and I feel someone good is on my side. It's likely it's not John Lennon like yourself, but I kind of just floated through my 20s, very much partied a little too hard as well. But as soon as I fell pregnant with my daughter, I just knew I had to had this enormous amount of weight on my shoulders of the responsibility. You want to be somebody who leads the way for these kids. You want them to look up to you, and you want to also be proud of yourself so they'll be proud of you, is how I felt. And this is why I've got the podcast and I'm doing the presenting journey now and everything like that. So that's why it's so interesting to me talking to somebody with this colorful family and childhood, and then you've had this fantastic career. How important is family life to you, and how do you think the lessons you've learned so far shape what you pay forward to your own children?
Well, I mean, it's such a journey having kids. There's so many beautiful phases. And another cliche, and you've got all that this to come. It goes so fast. But if you just keep your morals and your integrity straight, and you model them in your light, like you just be good. You just got to be a good person, and it works out. It just works out. And it's like, so now my kids, I mean, it's just crazy. You have a baby in your arms one minute, and the next minute they're asking for the car keys. It's really wild. And so now our household we are the place that all of our kids' friends want to come. It's the party house. I've got a studio, so my youngest is like a musician and crazy, working hard, but he's always in my studio with all of his friends. And so now we're that household with guitars propped up in every corner, and sleeping teenagers all over the place, and we're friends. I mean, first and foremost, I'm dad, but I have so much in common with my kids now, because we're similar people, and I love that. I love the fact that they want to hang out with me and Chris. It's the best feeling. But then there's the other side of it, where with every parent there's a rite of passage moment as they get to the age that our kids are at now, late teens, early 20s, where you pull the bow back and you got to let them go. And that is, one, a difficult thing, but two, a very beautiful thing. It's like, it's this amazing bittersweet thing that is hard, because you love them so much, and you don't want to lose them. You don't want them to go, and you want them to be there, and you want them to be able to tell them to clean their room, and you want them to tell them to do the washing up, or whatever it is that you do as a parent, all those silly little things. um, and you want to take them to football or whatever. But then you also want them to have their life, and you want them to meet someone, and you want them to get joy out of what they do for a living, and you want them to get their heart broken. Really, you want that to happen, because it's something that you know helps you grow, and that it's like you want them to fail. It's so hard, you know. You want them to, but you don't want them to, and you want to protect them from that, but you don't want to protect them from that. And it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful to see and to witness your children go through these things, and to be there for them when those things do happen, and know that it's good for them. It's like my boy. He's been through two amazing things in his career so far already. Away from my career, where he's had an amazing run in the West End, and it was like great people and fantastic experience. And then he's been through another one which wasn't, it was more difficult and stuff. And I'm like, that's great though. It's great that you're going through that. This is character building, and it's not all sunshine and unicorns and roses. It's like, and to experience these things where you do get knocked down, and you do get hurt, and you do get disappointed by people. And these things are just going to one more notch on your character. There's one more notch on your life experiences and your growth. And it's just so beautiful to see these personalities just form in in um, in fire, in a way, like forged through fire and light as well. And it's just so, I love it. I love it so much.
Oh, do you know that's something that I think I'll really struggle with, Chesney, is when the heartbreak comes, when the knockbacks come, because you just want to wrap them up. But I think that's actually really powerful and good messaging, which I will pay forward. Actually, I think that's really, really important. Do you think your kids have learned from your own musical ups and downs, the power of resilience?
I think so. But I have to say, I think that tenacity is is either innate or it's not. I don't think you can learn that, maybe it's a lot to do with what you choose to do with your life. And if you kind of like follow your passions, you're going to be tenacious about that because you love it so much. You know, um, I see it in my youngest. He's so like me when I was young. He would basically sleep with his guitar. Um, and so yeah, I mean, I hope that they see that in me, and that I've provided for them, put a roof over their head, and have missed out on certain things, and as they're growing up, and I've missed out on birthdays and stuff like that because I'm touring and whatever. But I've tried to keep the positivity of that in my head. Although sometimes it's difficult, it's like it's upsetting when you miss out on things, and you want to be at home, you want to be with your family always, but sometimes you've got to be away. You've got to, and that teaches your kids something, you know. And kids are so much more resilient than you think. They are malleable and bounce back, And I've had those conversations with my kids now that they're older about me feeling guilty that I was away for a lot of their childhood, or certain times in their childhood. And my eldest was like, Dad, if you weren't away doing that, we wouldn't have had the life that we have. So thank you for that. And that was like, wow, I've done my job.
Wow, that's really, really emotional, actually. I feel like that's a song in itself, Chesney. There
Yeah,
has to
you're
be
absolutely
something
right.
in that.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. There's something there.
Oh my goodness. If you get number one with a song about that next year, I'm 100% taking credit.
It's a deal.
Tell me about Chesney Hawkes now. How are you feeling within yourself? I feel like I'm seeing you everywhere at the minute, Chesney. Obviously on the Crossroad podcast now. We're in the Waitrose advert. We've been on Michael McIntyre, which you honestly came across so brilliantly on that, by the way. Tell me about where you are now. Is there any crossroads going on?
I feel like there's a crossroad every day, to be honest with you, in anyone's life. Yeah, I mean, I'm feeling like, and I'm in my 50s now. I'm well into my 50s. What am I talking about? And feeling very free in myself. I'm liberated. I'm I'm happy to talk about, the difficult things, which helps me grow, and helps people around me feel safe. So yeah, I mean, you're right. I am everywhere at the moment. I was just did Big Brother this year. I'm touring with James Blunt. I've got my own headline tour coming up. I've Waitrose, exactly. Um, I was sitting on the bloody Strictly couch the other
I
day
know.
talking about the contestants, and I'm very much like in a yes period. Um, I lost my best friend this year, and that was a huge crossroads for me. I had a magical hour with him the day before he died, and he was he said to me, it was just before this album, and it was released, and he loved this album so much. um and he was like, I want, obviously life is short, I want you to go out there and smash it to pieces. Just go out and have fun, enjoy it, say yes to the crazy shit. And and I took that to heart, all of that. And literally a week later, Big Brother called. So would you be interested in Celebrity Big Brother? And I was like, I just looked up at Vic, and I was like, All right, mate, I'm saying yes.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Chesney, I'm so sorry.
So that's where yeah, I mean, he's my guiding light right now.
How are you now from losing someone so close to you?
It's tough. I miss him daily. You know, I still want to text him all the time, and I do sometimes. I've got permission from his wife. You know, is it all right if I text his phone now and again when I want to talk to him? She said yes. Um, you know, he's with me. And that's the thing about losing someone is to remember that they're not gone. His energy is there, his life force is there, you know, and in everything that he's there in everything that I do, you know. Um, and you know, he helped shape me as a person. He also helped shape my kids because he was Uncle Vic. No one ever anybody ever replace him or anything like that, but um, I'm carrying him with me, you know.
Well, you're doing a mighty good job. What would you think he would say to you about all the opportunities that have come since his passing? How was Big Brother? What do you think he'd make of that?
Oh, he would have loved it. He would have absolutely loved it. He would have taken the piss out of me. But he was that kind of guy that would you know, jump in first with feet first. He was a risk taker. You know, he liked to jump off the cliff. He had many crossroads in his life, so yeah, he would have been absolutely proud of me. I know he would, and it would have told me as well.
Oh, what an amazing friendship to have and carry with you. And I'm so sorry for your loss, but you're doing him proud, Chesney. And what I'd love to know is, even just this year, like I say, Chesney Hawkes is everywhere. So it's an even bigger honour to have you on this podcast with us. What's exciting you now? Again, we're coming to the end of the year, but what looking forward, looking ahead, what's exciting you about what's coming up?
Projects wise, well, I'm still promoting this album, which I'm obviously very, very proud of. And you know, it's amazing to see and hear little you know, connections with the songs, and so playing live is incredible. Because I, you know, I get people singing these new songs back, which is puts me on cloud nine. It's amazing. So I've got some European dates coming up in December. That's really fun. And then we've got a family Christmas, which I'm so excited about. Take a little bit of time off with my family and my friend that I told you about the past, his family. So we're all getting together with my brother's family. So looking forward to that. Going to go and visit some friends in Uruguay.
Ooh, fancy.
So yeah, so a little bit of traveling, and you know, we're just carving out some time for my wife and I and for family. And then I'm going on tour in March.
Amazing. The crowd goes wild, and we are 100% going to be there. I have to say, you've got a lot going on this side of the year. You're obviously grieving your wonderful friend, Vic. When you think of the next kind of crossroads, what direction are you choosing to go in next?
Gosh, there's so many potentials. You know, that's the thing about like a creative people, I guess. You know, I've got a new album that I'm working on now, so that's all in process. But I can see all sorts of things happening. I see a documentary, I see a book, I see new album, I see new touring. I mean, the it's endless. You know, I have to be reeled in, you know, by management.
Don't let them reel you in, Chesney. Keep going. I think it's absolutely incredible. Are you someone who believes in manifestation, or is it just kind of like, no, I've got this vision, I'm going to keep going with it?
No, no, very much believe in that. You have to feel it in your bones that it's already there,
Oh, I love that.
because it is already there.
See really successful, wonderful people like yourself. And I'm like, well, if they're doing it, it must be working.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think it's about being positive. At the end of the day, it's like for me. I mean, listen, I have down days as well, but everything as well as anyone else, of course. But you know, if you can choose, trying to find things that make you happy in your life. You know, because there's always something, whether it's where your dog greets you when you come home, or your daughter's smile, or even just simple going for a walk and hearing the birds in the wind in the trees, or whatever. Just anything. like that, if you concentrate on those things, instead of, the things that are making you unhappy, then you're going to find that more positive things will come to you.
Has to happen. What a mantra to live by and end on. I am so grateful for your time today, Chesney. I can't believe I've grown up with your music. I play your music every week on my show. I should have really told you that at the start, but I genuinely really, really do. And I'm dancing away in the studio to it. Like, honestly, thank God there's no cameras in the studio. I think you are an absolutely wonderful human. I think that fairy dust from talking to you actually is you. I think you're the embodiment of that. And I'm so grateful for you taking a chance on us today and being part of the Crossroad. Thank you so much.
And I'm grateful to you as well. And you obviously have that tenacity too, and it's a beautiful thing. And you're going to be giving back by doing this podcast. You're going to help people and help them grow and help them, find their dreams and take the right crossroads, take the right path.
Is it right? Is it left? Who knows? Is it straight on? No, I really,
Who knows?
really
I
appreciate
think
that.
either is going to be right because it's the one that you take.
Absolutely correct. I love that. Well, you're welcome back anytime. Can't wait to see you on tour. And please thank Chrissy because she's been so wonderful at answering all my emails and just being so kind to me. I really appreciate it.
I will do. I will do that right now. Promise.
Oh, Chesney Hawkes, thank you so much for joining us on The Crossroad. What a legend.
Thanks, Rachel. Take care.